Hello again, dear learners. This is JCL Tutorials. I welcome you to this platform. This is a platform where I teach you how to study social studies the simple way, and you become an excellent student in class and out there a good citizen. We have been looking at so many lessons, and this time around I bring you something different. We'll be delving deep into something special that I have prepared for my students. So I'd like you to follow me closely. And this time, or in this episode, we are going to discuss our 1992 Constitution. So the 1992 Constitution has been adopted as the fourth Republican Constitution, and we'll be delving into it and how the Constitution was drawn, the steps taken in drawing the Constitution. So we'll go into the steps, but there is a brief history I'm going to give concerning the coming into force of this particular Constitution. So I did mention already that it's called the fourth Republican Constitution. So why is it the fourth? Which means there was a first, second, third. Okay, so and now we have the fourth Republican. So we're actually using this, and that is also what we call the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Okay, so all these things you'll be hearing about the Constitution, yes. These two solid books over here, or documents, this is actually the main one that has everything that has been written in the legal language. And then we have this abridged version, broken in the simplified form, or written in a simplified form that every student can read. Okay, so in case you find the yellow one or this bigger version where some of the terms over here, because they are too they are related to the law and all those things, you read and you find it difficult to understand, you can get the copy of the abridged version, which has almost everything. Everything is here. Okay, so you open it, you find all the chapters, and the same chapters are also found here with the articles. Okay, so you open this abridged version, you find all the 26 chapters of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. So why is it called the fourth Republican Constitution? So let's go into it deeply. The history just behind is that when we gained independence, 1957, we were still under colonial rule, because even though we had someone who was the leader of government business, the person wasn't fully declared as a president or seen as a president. The authority was in our hands. So from 1957 to 1960, 1960 was the year in which we gained, or Ghana became a Republican state. So when you take the 3-year period, what was actually happening was that the Queen of England was still the head of state, and we had Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as the head of government. Okay, so as a prime minister, if I should put it that way. Now, from that point, we gradually became a Republican state in 1st July 1960. So that 1960 actually established the beginning of our first republic. From there, quickly, we jump to the 1969. I'll have a session or an episode where I'll be talking about the military rule, the civilian rule, and the military rule. So, but now I'm just talking about how we got to this fourth Republican era. Okay, so the 1960 first Republican Constitution started using it. Then 69, where we had two heads of our executive, that is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's father, Edward Akufo-Addo, becoming the president, and Dr. K. Busia becoming the prime minister, that's the head of government. So two during this time. So they were civilians. So that set the beginning, or established the beginning of the Second Republic. Then from there, we had some coup d'etat taking place. Then 1979 marked the establishment of the Third Republican Constitution. Why? It was a military leader, that's Flight Lieutenant Jerry Rawlings, the late. He did the coup, but he actually gave the opportunity, or brought someone in as a civilian, okay, to serve. So that person made or formed that civilian government. That's Dr. Hilary Mann. So that marked the beginning of the Third Republican Constitution. Now, what happened is, from there, we had the man was taking off, and then we had Rawlings himself taking power, being in charge. He came with the PMDC later on after the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council. Then gradually we entered 1991, 92, then 92. This constitution was drawn, and that marked the Fourth Republic. So from there, we've not had any coup d'etat, no state overthrow has occurred. So it means that this particular constitution has not been overthrown, and we pray that that doesn't happen. That is what we are still using. So we call it the Fourth Republican Constitution. Now we go into the steps quickly. 7 solid steps were taken in drawing this particular constitution, and that is what we are looking at. Let's look into them one by one. We take step 1. What happened during that stage or that particular step? All right, let's get into that. So step 1. Now here we have a committee was actually formed, and that committee was headed by the late Justice D.F. Annan, so Dan Francis Annan. Okay, Dan Francis Annan led that committee, and that committee was actually tasked to go and gather or collect ideas from all Ghanaians or information, and find out from Ghanaians the type of constitution they wanted. Okay, so they had to go to all the 10 regions. We have 16 regions currently, but then before around that time in 1992, we had our 10 solid regions. So these people were to be visited by this particular committee, and their job was just to get information from them and find out from them the type of constitution they wanted. So you can take note of this. A committee headed by the late Justice D.F. Annan was tasked to collect ideas, information, and data from all the 10 regions. Okay, all the 10 regions. Yeah. So regions. Okay, and find out from the people the type of constitution they wanted. That's it for step number 1. Now, after they collected the ideas, they got their information or data, what did they use it for? Next step is step 2. Let's go into step 2. Step 2, this is what happened. After the DF Finance Committee did their work, they handed it over to another committee that was set up, and that committee's name was the Constitutional Expert, Committee of Constitutional Experts. Now their work was to just look at the ideas that have been collated, okay, or all the information, and put them together and come out with a draft constitution. So the ideas and information gathered were compiled. Gathered by who? By the DF Finance Committee, okay? Were compiled, and a new committee of constitutional experts, this is the name of the committee, were tasked to draft a new constitution considering the past ones. Okay, you know, we've had the First Republican, Second Republican, Third Republican, as I've already mentioned. All those constitutions, they were to consider the past one and see if there are some relevant aspects or provisions over there that they can add and blend them with the current one, so we can have a new and refined constitution. This is what they were trying to do at that time, or at this stage. So this step by the Constitutional Expert, Committee of Constitutional Experts, it was headed by, so this committee was headed by Dr. K.B. Asante. Dr. K.B. Asante was the head of the Committee of Constitutional Experts. So they did their work, and then they handed it over to another committee. Another committee was set up, and that was the Consultative Assembly. Their work is what we're going to talk about in step 3. So let's go into step 3. What happened? Step number 3. The National Consultative Assembly was set up to consider the draft by the constitutional experts, okay, the one headed by KB Asante, and their job was to come out with a final draft, okay. So they will look at what this committee has worked on, and then they will come out with a final draft. So that final draft will move us to the step 4. Now here, the assembly or the National Consultative Assembly, they were to make sure that they go and solicit views or get the views from different people. So because the constitution, that's what they call the people's constitution, it was drawn for the people, they had to consider the views of teachers, lawyers, students, fishermen, farmers, traders, among others. All these people were stakeholders. They had to consider and know their views clearly concerning the final draft of what we want as a constitution, okay? Because it's a set of rules that is going to govern us, and if we want it to last, we need all these people from all careers, spheres, or facets of life to come together and bring or submit their views or contribute their views. Okay, so that was the job of the National Consultative Assembly. So a man called Chiana, so headed by Chiana Pio Ayangitam, headed this committee, the National Consultative Assembly. So he did that job. And what happened after the final draft? Let's go to step number 4. So after the Consultative Assembly did its work, that committee headed by Chiana Pio Ayangitam, I think there's Roland in his name somewhere. Yeah, very long, job-breaking name. Well, powerful man. Good. So he led that committee. After they were done with the final draft, the citizens need to know what is actually inside that draft. Okay, the draft is like the raw state of a bill or a law. Okay, it's a document, something that is in a process to become a final publicized document. Okay, so the public must know. So this education had to be carried out by one committee, and that was the National Commission on Democracy. They did that. So step 4 has to do with what? Educating the public on the new or the final draft that we have. After they go to the public and tell them that, okay, so we have done our work, okay, we've come to you, you've told that this is what you need, and we've gone through certain processes, and these are your views we've put together. We are bringing it to you, and we are letting you know that these are some of the provisions, or these are the things that we'll be using to govern us. I think it's fair enough to let the public know, and very, very necessary, because the laws are going to be used to govern us. So that was what happened, and all these taking place in 1992. Okay, so that is step number 4. Let's go to step 5 and see, after the public education, what next. I hope you are enjoying the whole step and gradual stages. Okay, all right, let's go. Okay, so under step 5, something unique happened. Whoever has given you a task or a job to perform or to do, you have to get back and report that you are done with your work. After the public education, they need to go to the leader of the party in charge, okay, or government, and that's the chairman of the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC, okay, led by Chairman Rawlings, as we affectionately call him, and that's a flight John Rawlings, the late, okay. So he supervised everything and saw the work that has been done by the various committees. So after it has been submitted to him, then step 6, what happened? A referendum was organized, okay? A referendum had to be organized. Now, a final decision had to be taken by the public to vote yes or no on whether they accept the constitution or not. So that will quickly take us to last two steps. So we look at step 6. So under step 6, a referendum to bracket yes or no vote was organized to finally approve the 1992 constitution, or the constitution. That's the draft constitution, okay? The draft constitution. So then make it and this happened on the 28th of April 1992. So this day, until recently, it was changed. The constitutional day was changed from this day to the 7th of January, okay? Because the 7th of January marked the coming into force of the constitution, and that is going to be our last step, okay? That's step 7. So, but before that change occurred, this day was actually marked, celebrated as our constitutional day, the 28th of April 1992. So 28th of April of every year we celebrate that. So but we have a change now. We are rather celebrating or marking the day the constitution officially started working. That came into force. So on the 7th of January. So that is why anytime an election takes place in the previous year, the next year, so for instance, if the term ends and an election ends, the year ends or the tenure of office of a president ends, there is going to be a general election every 4 years. So we had the 2020 election. The president-elect will be sworn into office the following month, which is in January, and that is the next year, and that is going to be on the 7th of January. So we know that previously it was this constitutional day, but now we have the 7th of January as our constitutional day. So this happened under step 6. So the final step is step 7, when the constitution came into force. When the constitution came into force. So step 7, constitution was finally accepted and it came into force on the 7th of January 1993. So that is the following year we started working with that. So we have a president-elect in 1992, and Friday Lieutenant Rawlings won that election, and he became the first president of the Fourth Republic, and that has been the norm every 4 years, established by the Constitution. We vote, and then we get a president-elect, and is being sworn into office on this particular day. So these steps that we've looked at are actually the steps that we're taking to draw the 1992 Constitution, the book I just showed to you. I believe you enjoyed this episode, and you can learn a lot from it. You need to get all these steps in your mind, and you should be able to explain to people how we got this precious set of rules and regulations or law, and we have to protect it, guard it, and it's supposed to bring all Ghanaians together because the constitution is for all of us. Let's do our best to protect it and not allow any person who has the mind to overthrow this constitution succeed in doing that. Let's work as good citizens out there, protect and defend our homeland Ghana and the constitution, and make our nation great and strong. Thank you for watching this episode. This is JCL Tutorials. I'll meet you with more interesting lessons. But for now, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and see you again. Bye.